Hi, I'm Alicia and welcome to my channel Papercraft Secrets. Today I'm sharing a set of 6 cards that I made with the Mintay Bloomville collection. There's something special about these 6 set of cards though. I actually have a limited number of kits for sale on my website, so you can purchase all the materials that you need to create these cards, and you can make them along at home as well. So let's take a look at some of the materials that we are using today. We have lots and lots of flowers here and lots of crinkled ribbon, lots of wooden sentiments, some fussy cutting. We're going to be using the Bloomville 6x6 Mintay paper pad, and you can see I've really cut into mine. You get a complete paper pad when you purchase your kit, and I have already selected some of the papers that I'm going to be using to make the 6 cards. The papers have a lovely spring feel to them, and if you're new to the Mintay papers, you need to know that how lovely and thick these papers are. We're also going to be using a page or two from the Mintay junk book. This page here with the clock faces and this page here with the tickets. So you get each of those pages in your kit. You'll also receive from the Flora book this page here, which is Vintage Muted Flowers. So they're the lovely papers that we will be using. You also receive this page here, which is a 12 by 12 sheet that has the wooden frames that we will be using. And I've already fussy cut 12 of these wooden frames. This is my fussy cutting here, which is the Vintage Muted Flowers. So that sheet there. So I've just collected my fussy cutting. I like to do all my fussy cutting first, somewhere relaxing, and then I like to have everything ready to go for when I'm ready to make my cards. Here are the vintage clocks, and they were from that page there. And then I have some tickets and tags that I've cut from that page there. Now I've also cut some butterflies. The butterflies come from this 12 by 12 sheet, which is also in your kit. So everything that you need to create these cards is in the kit. There's lots of lovely flowers, there's lots of lovely crinkled ribbon, there's lots of sentiments, and this is basically what we're going to use to create our 6 cards. Inside the kit, you also receive 6 folded note cards that will be the base of our cards, and 6 matching envelopes that we can use to send our cards in. So those note cards and envelopes also come in the kit. Let's get this out of the way so that we can start creating our cards. This kit is perfect for anyone who, number one, needs some ideas for designing cards and might get a little bit lost in the designing of a card. These cards are all designed for you, so you don't need to worry about what design you will use when you create your cards. And they also might be for the person that doesn't have all of the necessary bits and pieces. Like, you might not have the flowers, you might not have the wooden sentiments, you might not have the papers. To save you having to shop around, you can use the kit. You just buy one thing and everything is included. This is a sketch that we're going to use today. It's a sketch that I created myself, and when you receive your kit, you will have a copy of this sketch. So you can see how we've got our 2 frames, we're going to use 2 frames for every card. We've also got a backing page and we've got a rectangular strip. So basically this is what our card is going to look like at the very most basic structure of the sketch. We're also going to use a clock face on each card, some fussy cut flowers, a ribbon and a flower, a butterfly, a wooden sentiment, and we're also going to be using some tags that I haven't popped in there just yet. These are the papers that I'm going to use as the background for my 6 cards. We're going to trim the pages for our cards at 4 1/8 of an inch. And we're going to do that for all 6 of our cards. We are going to keep that strip that we trim off, and that becomes our strip in the middle of our card. So don't throw that little scrap away. That is important for our card as well. So you trim all 6 of your papers to 4 1/8 of an inch and keep your little strip safely. Well done. Our next step is to lay out all of our white cardstock, and we're going to choose our background papers and pop them onto each one of those cards. I'm going to be using this glue here, and I'm just putting my glue around the edges of the paper, and I'm gluing that onto the folded note card, and you'll see that there is a small border around the edge of the paper, so we get that nice white border edge around our cards. So we're just gluing on all of those pages now. And those cards are looking lovely. The papers are beautiful, beautiful papers, perfect for spring. Our next step is to use those little strips that we cut off. Those strips will not be going to waste. They are going to go in the middle as a layer on our cards. There's 2 sides to the strip, so feel free to play around with what side of the paper that you would like to use and which card you would like to put the strip on. We're going to put those halfway horizontally across the middle of our cards. They are looking really good already. Our next step is to take the frames that we have fussy cut from the 12 by 12 paper sheet. We're going to use 2 frames per card. So there's 12 frames on a page, and that will be enough for 2 frames for 6 cards. To choose the frames, I'm looking for a contrast in patterns and a contrast in colours. You can play around with whichever frames you would like to put on your cards, or you can copy exactly the papers and frames that I've used, whatever suits you the best. Now we're going to take all of those little tickets that we fussy cut from our ticket page, and we're going to use these in our design. We're going to cut some of these in half so that we can use them more, make them go further basically. Take your tags and have a little play at where you would like to put your tags. You might like to put them behind the first frame. You might like to put them behind the second frame. If you really like the one tag and you want to use it more often, you can cut it in half so that you can use it on 2 different cards. I'm placing my tickets in between the 2 frames. And then I'm adding a second ticket as well. Once you are happy with where you've got your tags, you may glue those down. So just gluing them onto the frame, overlapping them, so that they're poking out a little bit from behind each of the frames. I'm going to use some recycled cardboard to allow my frame to pop a little bit up off the card and to create dimension. This is optional. If you prefer a flat card, do not use the recycled cardboard. Just glue it straight down onto the card. I will show you at the end that the cards do fit into the envelopes, but it is a little bit of squish. So if you prefer to keep your cards flat, I would advise against using the recycled cardboard. I prefer my cards to have a little bit of dimension, so that's why I like to use it. Our next step is to add recycled cardboard to the back of our frame cluster and glue onto the base of our card. These cards are looking awesome now. Now we're up to choosing a clock face for each of the cards. There's a variety of colours and sizes with the clock faces, so you can decide which one you like with each card. And we have all of our floral clusters that we've fussy cut, and we're going to need some floral bits and pieces on each card. So I'm just playing around with some flowers that can go in behind our clock face. I'm adding in some smaller little ones as well as the big ones. Inside your kit, you will have 6 different crinkly ribbons, and they're cut to a width, or a length, I should say, that is just the right size for tying into a bow. So you need to go through and find your little crinkly ribbons and tie each of those into a bow to put onto our cards. I'm using some recycled cardboard on the back of each of the clocks. This will add some dimension and layering spaces, or space between the layers of the clock and the fussy cut flowers. Again, this is optional. I will choose a flower for each of my cards from the flowers that are in the kit. You will receive 6 silk flowers. Each one is different, a different color or a different style. What I like to do with these flowers is take out the hard plastic bits, and I like to glue those layers back together onto my cards. Each card will have a wooden sentiment. Inside your kit, you'll get a variety of sentiments. You may not get exactly every word that I've used in this set. It's a bit of a mixture, but you'll get 6 wooden sentiments that you can add to your cards. What we're going to do now is we're going to glue our floral clusters on. Now this particular card has several different little flowers. There's the rosebud there, then there's another little flower and another little flower. We've got our little wooden sentiment going in there. We've got our orange bow. We have our blue flower that we've pulled apart, and we need to put a little bit of glue in between each of those petals to glue those down. We will add a flat back pearl into the center of the flower, and you will receive 6 flat back pearls in your kit. Let's move on to our next card. On. Let's glue our fussy cut floral cluster on. Our clock face on top. Our ribbon at the side there of the frame. the petals of our flower. Just a bit of glue in between pretty much all the layers of the petals. And then our flat back pearl in the center of our flower. Beautiful. On to our next card now. Gluing down our sentiment. Gluing down our floral cluster. Gluing on our clock face. Gluing on our ribbon. Gluing on our flower, petal by petal. And finally our pearl. Three cards down and 3 cards to go now. Sentiment, flowers, clock face, you can add those little tiny leaves in as extra layers in your floral clusters. Ribbon, petals, and our pearl. Looking so pretty. Next card. Gluing on the sentiment. Gluing on the fussy cut flowers, the clock face, the ribbon, just take the center out of that flower, gluing on the petals, and the little pearl at the end. Beautiful. On to our very last card now, gluing on our sentiment, gluing a rose down, and another pretty flower, and add another little flower poking out over here. Put our clock face on, we're going to add another little rosebud down there. Our crinkly ribbon, our little flowers, and our pearl. Now these are the butterflies we're going to use. We need one butterfly for each of the cards. I like to bend them and put the glue just under the middle of the butterfly so that the wings can flap up on either side. I think we need some cheesecloth. I have included cheesecloth in your kit just to add a little bit more texture in between our butterfly and our layers. So we'll put a little bit of cheesecloth on our clock face first, and then we will add our butterfly on top. So just cut a small piece of cheesecloth from your little cheesecloth in your kit. You don't need to use too much, and then you can sort of spread it out a little bit with your fingers. Less is kind of more with cheesecloth. Just using my fingers to stretch it out a little bit, gluing it onto the clock, and then adding my butterfly on top. Choose the color of your butterfly that you would prefer to use. Last card now with just a little bit of cheesecloth and then a butterfly on top. And that is the front of our cards finished. There are some extra little flowers that you could add in around if you wanted to. Now, just for an extra touch to these cards, I am taking one of the pages from the 6x6 paper pad that has the tiny little frames on it, and I'm going to fussy cut out 6 of those so that I can use them on my cards. Actually, you only need to cut 3 if you're going to cut them in half. I'm just going to slide those in underneath that frame there, just to fill in that little space. This is optional, you don't have to do this, but it just adds just a little bit more to the stepped design of the card. Let's get another one. One for there, and one for this card. There we go. That's looking beautiful. So that is the front of our card finished. If you wanted to go through and add some extra flowers in, you certainly could, because there are more flowers there in the kit. So if you wanted to add a little bit more to your card, you could do so. I decided to just keep mine plain. Now we're going to cut some paper for the inside of our cards. We are using the same measurement of 4 1/8 of an inch. You're going to need to cut another 6 pages. Choose designs that you can write on so that you can actually write on the inside of the card. Don't choose a design that's really busy and there's no spot for writing. Go through and glue each of those on the inside of the cards. How these cards do fit into the envelopes. So you can see that it just takes a little tiny bit of squishing in, but they can actually fit in quite nicely. Of course, if you add less of the recycled cardboard, your card would fit in even better. We're going to line the inside of our envelopes to give them an extra special touch. So you just need to copy or trace around the edge of the envelope onto the 6x6 paper pad, and we'll cut that out following our pencil line. That goes inside the envelope, so we glue that in. Like that, leaving a white edge, and that just lines our envelope and it just makes it look extra pretty. So go ahead and do that for each of your envelopes. I like to do my pencil mark on the back so that in case I get a bit of pencil mark on there, you're going to glue that down and you won't see it. A good idea is to use one as a template, and then you can just use that to cut all the others from. Once you have all of your envelope liners cut down, then it's just a matter of gluing each of those inside each of the envelopes. Just getting them sort of straight. You need to move it around a little bit and make sure that it's symmetrical. That's it. Then you need to fold your envelopes. You've got to be a little bit careful with the folding. You have to sort of crease that paper down so that it folds nicely. Because you've got an extra thickness in there now. So you've got to train your envelope to fold where you want it to fold. And there's our envelopes all done. And that concludes our tutorial for making these beautiful spring cards. If you'd like to purchase a kit, you need to pop on over to my website at www.papercraftsecrets.com.au, and there is a link in the description box below. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope that you enjoyed it and you got some new ideas for creating cards. I would love it if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching and have a lovely crafty day.